Just checking in here a little bit before we get started. How is the music volume and my microphone volume? If you could message in the chat and let me know, it'd probably be the easiest way for me to see it. Danielle says the microphone's a little clippy, so I'm going to turn down the gain here a little bit while I am talking into it. How about there? I think that's usually right about where I have it. What do you think? What do you think? Sounds okay. Good to me. Something with the resolution of my chat preview is low, so it's hard to read. Might tweak that. Is that a terrible idea on the fly? Probably. Oh, that didn't do what I wanted. There we go. Got the chat nice and readable for my old man eyes. My low resolution. All right, gonna wait another minute or two for people to show up, I guess. Remember, if you've got any questions, please drop them in the chat. Hi, David. Kind of gonna go over a couple things. I have a small agenda for the day, but also just question and answer, kind of as usual. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome to another monthly stream with Elementary. Should probably show my face. That'd be nice. Oh, and there's my notes. Wrong button. It's all good. I have a new setup this week. Here's just the camera. There we go. Hi, everybody. Hopefully that's not too laggy. It looks a little low frame rate on my screen here. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome. Today I'm doing kind of a question and answer. I asked some people on Twitter, just random thoughts, what would you want me to cover in the stream? And also, as always, in the chat here as well. Uh-oh, looks like my chat got resized on this preview. That's what I get for doing things right before the stream. Oop, there we go. Not a big deal. So yeah, hey, how's it going? First of all, just to open the stream, I always want to show people what they can go get at the Elementary store. Let's grab this here. So if you go to store.elementary.io, it's a good way to help support us both, making sure we can continue doing streams like this and also just doing our day-to-day work on Elementary OS. This helps support development. Plus you get some cool swag. So up at the top, you can look at devices. So we're actually partnering with a handful of companies here that are retailers of devices running Elementary OS. So you can order something from Laptop with Linux, Slimbook, or Star Labs, and you're going to know that it comes with Elementary OS. Star Labs especially I want to call out here. They've got a new... if my internet's being slow on this computer because I'm streaming on that computer. But yeah, they've got the new Starbook, and it looks so good. I'm so excited to get my hands on one of these someday. It looks so good. So yeah, you can go and order it with Elementary OS, and then a portion of that purchase helps support us here at Elementary, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's a pretty sick computer. I've done this many times, configuring what I would want, and it's pretty nice. They have this over-provisioned PCIe drive, which means it's extra performant, which is nice. And look at that, Elementary OS 6 contributes to the developers. So yeah, make sure you go and order that with Elementary OS. And then there's also all sorts of other cool stuff on the store. So there's these seasonal items right now. So these are for the fall, so get them before fall is over. And yes, I know fall in the Northern Hemisphere. I know if you're down under, seasons are different, but hey, you can still celebrate the season with us and get a hoodie for later in the year. But yeah, we've got the Vala hoodie, and a lot of these are in multiple colors as well. So don't be put off if the color that's right here on the store is not your liking. So you can grab, just taking a minute. There we go. You can grab it in white or black for the Vala hoodie, which looks nice. Or, oops, let's go back. Same with the pullover. I'm not going to bore you going through every single product, but click around on here. Yeah, white and black on those. There's a palette. If you like that palette print that we have, it's now seasonally, for a limited time, available on some hoodies and sweatshirts, pullovers. So yeah, check it out. And then as usual, there's also the selection of t-shirts, and we added more colors to these recently too. So again, if you're not a fan of the color that's there on the store, check out all the color options, especially like the logo type tees, I think have tons of colors. And jackets and mugs. Mugs have new colors too, check those out. And then laptop sleeves, we added a Vala laptop sleeve, which is pretty cool. There's this minimal logo mark one. And then we've got some fun ones with different wallpapers on them. So, and keep your eye here, because I think we're gonna add some more products soon. I think Liz has been working on that. And Vala posters as well. Definitely repping Vala here on the store. And then that palette print that I was talking about. And then the pillows. So all sorts of cool stuff. So go get something from the store, help support us. It's pretty good quality stuff. I have like one of everything from the store. And it's good stuff. So go do that. Yeah, let's close that. So I'm going to check the chat here and see what, oh, it did this thing again too. Come on, let's resize that. Doing it live, it's fine. Fall, like to hang out of a cliff. So autumn, fall, autumn, the season of autumn. Is the frame per second really slow? Is it is that my camera or the computer or both? It's possible this camera is slow. I'm asking my computer to do a lot today. I've got like 8 different scenes that I was trying out. Maybe a little too much. Yeah, Childish Giant, let me know if it's just the camera. I'm using this Logitech camera, and I think it sometimes is a little low frame rate. Cool. So yeah, I'm gonna get started on the meat of the stream today. So first, let's start. We always like to check in with the project board. So we use GitHub projects to plan the elementary OS release process. The whole cycle, everything we do, we use GitHub projects. So this is a great place for you to go check out what we're up to. Let me zoom in here. github.com/orgs/elementary/projects/90. That is this project specifically, which is the Elementary OS 6.1 project board. And then you'll see on the way to 6.1, we're also doing these milestones like 6.0.3 is coming very soon. The goal is the end of the month or the beginning of next month. So you can see we have some releases here that need to be made. Looks like Danielle has proposed some of those. Some Flatpak stuff. And, oh, yep. Hey, I'm going to talk about this one a little bit later. Deb packaging to pull in videos or do it in the OS repo. So we're switching, one of the things we're doing this month is switching a few more apps over to Flatpak packaging, which is really cool. In the case of videos, it actually helps with things like codecs to make sure that videos can play more file types right out of the box. So that's nice. And then I think CapNet Assist, the captive network assistant, is another one. That's what pops up, like if you connect to like a coffee shop Wi-Fi, that pops up and helps you get connected to the Wi-Fi. So it's important to have that flat-packed because that's an untrusted environment and it's running a web browser process, which, you know, is kind of notoriously dangerous. So by having that flat-packed, it can protect it and sandbox it from the rest of your system as well. So good improvements there with Flatpak. And then obviously the blog post that Danielle's working on and some other Flatpak stuff. So, and then there's a whole bunch of 127 things here in the done column. So that's everything that's already been done. And the 6.0.3 is what is still to be done, targeted for the end of the month. So yeah, so far what's been going on for the month. I should have pulled up the blog post. That would have been smart. But we can go to, and anybody else can go here too, releases.elementary.io. By the way, one of the things, like right off the top of my head, is Web 40. So Gnomeweb is the web browser that the Gnome project works on. And again, my internet is being crappy on this computer because it's all being eaten up by the streaming computer. if that's what's going on here. Let's try. Sometimes it's a DNS thing where it doesn't want to load the first time, and then there we go. But yeah, so anybody can go to this releases.elementary.io to look at these. But right now I'm using Web 40, the newest version of Gnomeweb. So there's some improvements, like these tabs are smoother. You'll notice, like, especially animations when you like open a new tab, close a tab. Trying to think of other things. Firefox Sync has been moved to the import and export menu, which makes a little bit more sense, and it should be more reliable there. UI's been cleaned up a little bit. So it's overall a really good release. We're happy to be shipping that. And of course, it works with the dark style preference as well on Elementary OS. They're actually working on supporting this upstream in Gnomeweb, but we have a patch currently to make it work on Elementary OS. But now with the work we've been doing for the dark style in conjunction with Gnome, we're going to start seeing Gnome apps work with the Elementary dark style and vice versa. So if you install an Elementary app from Flatpak on a Gnome system or a Gnome app from Flatpak on an Elementary system, they should play much nicer now, which is really cool. I'm really happy to see that. Let's switch back to light mode for today. It's bright in here. I'm going to check in on that chat again, just see if there's anything. Both camera and capture seem a little laggy. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I'll try to maybe debug that a little bit after this stream and see for next time if it can be a little bit better. The entire stream seems laggy. Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably asking too much from my system right now. Wonder if you can double click to open a new tab. Does not appear to be there, but I don't know if there's anything preventing that from being added. That'd be nice. David Hewitt says, that sounds like the distinctive click of a Pinebook Pro touchpad. David Hewitt, how did you know? I am, in fact, running a Pinebook Pro right now. So this is Pinebook Pro, Elementary OS. Yeah, how did you... I'm impressed. So yeah, all the multi-touch stuff working here on Pinebook Pro is really smooth. Of course, if that frame rate is bad on the stream, then it's not going to be able to be seen as well here. So, but yeah, I'm super impressed with this like multi-touch on the Pinebook Pro with the latest trackpad firmware and then the latest updates in Elementary OS as well. Like, oh, it's like as good as $1,000 computer, honestly. Still not the biggest fan of the like rough texture on the touchpad, but the precision of it is mighty impressive. Yeah, it is in fact a Pinebook Pro touchpad. You caught me. That's really funny. Let's see. I wonder how GitHub code spaces. Yeah, I'm not sure. Man, I don't have enough background or backlog of the chat on here. I'm like gonna miss things if I don't see them right away. Dang, I gotta get that chat set up better next time, I guess. So if there's a really good question, I guess David or Danielle, if you're in there and there's a good question, you can like repeat it. Please don't, everybody else, please don't spam the chat, but like repeat that question if there's a good thing you want me to answer, because I will have missed it because I can't scroll back with this setup. Somebody's asking, is that Bitwarden? Yeah, that is. So this is just a pinned tab. So that's another nice thing. I'm not going to open the Bitwarden tab because I don't know what's currently showing in there if there's any passwords. But pinning a tab has a nice little animation, and they show up over here to the left of all your other tabs. So yeah, I don't really need an extension for Bitwarden when it's just a pinned tab there. There's also the app on Flatpak, but now that it's been revealed that I'm running the Pinebook Pro, the Bitwarden app isn't built for ARM yet, I believe. So I'm just using the pinned tab there, and it actually works pretty well. Somebody's asking about the mutter fix for shadows in the November update. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check on that. I think that should be on the project board somewhere. Yeah, I'd have to dig through all this to find it. I'm not sure if that fix has made it in. I know there was something weird where Launchpad wasn't building our patch or our backport for some reason, and I am not up to date on the latest update for that. Little sip of coffee to keep me going. Let's see. Somebody's asking if I'm going to get a Pinephone Pro. I would love to. Yeah, actually, I just ordered a new phone because I use my main phone as a camera so much. So I really like the Pixel cameras, but I really like open source software. So when I use a Pixel, I end up using Bitwarden and Firefox and Signal and all those things, all these open source apps on it, which is cool that I can do that, but I'd really rather have a whole open source phone and OS. So something like the Pinephone Pro is really tempting. Childish Giant asked, I wonder how GitHub code spaces could affect the developer workflow for all sorts of elementary projects. Yeah, I haven't kept up too much with that. That's is that basically like VS Code in the browser, but like a whole environment and stuff? If I'm not mistaken, I haven't played with that a whole lot. I use elementary code, honestly. Oh, and this is a fresh install as of last night, so all my stuff's not set up here. But I really do. I use code. Open project folder. This isn't going to make a whole lot of sense to open this project folder, but where am I going? I don't even have my projects folder pinned to my bookmarks. There we go. Oh, and then it's hidden. For example, if I open a project here, I really like how code works with the sidebar, with this little project selector now with Git projects, with showing changes in files. Definitely it'll show you the line change here and the changes in files here. So I really like code. I know a lot of us at Elementary use elementary code to develop Elementary OS. So I'm not really looking for another environment. It's fast enough to install code and get my desktop or my development environment up and running on a new machine. Like I literally installed this last night on here. I haven't installed a single project besides my .dot files, so that I can start doing things. And it's super fast to get set up on Elementary OS. So for me, it's not a big deal. But like, you know, maybe if you're on Windows or Mac OS, you could set up a Linux developer environment on GitHub Codespaces. That could be interesting. Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's see. Does Gnomeweb work with universal two-factor or web authentication? I don't believe it does yet, but I believe there's work on it. I'm not exactly sure, but I know like when I sign into projects, I have a USB security key. I know when I sign into things, it's not supported there, and I have to do an alternate, like a backup code or whatever, or a code generator app. So I do use that. Yeah, I'm not sure. You have to check the Gnomeweb issue tracker at, I believe it's, what is it? gitlab.gnome.org/gnome/epiphany. Oh, it helps if you spell epiphany right. Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, well, /gnome/epiphany is the most exciting thing to watch somebody do. Maybe there we go. Yeah. So check the issue tracker there. gitlab.gnome.org/gnome/epiphany for features for Gnomeweb. We're actually trying to stick a lot closer upstream with Gnomeweb right now. So like I said, we just shipped Gnomeweb 40 on Elementary OS 6, but there's already work on like the next versions. And I've contributed actually a few things upstream that will then trickle down to us. So it's really important to us to work with projects like this, to work close to upstream, because it means less maintenance for us, honestly, which is great. But it also means that any improvements we do make get to more people faster. So they're not just being held on Elementary OS, but they're actually making it out to all users of upstream apps or projects. So yeah, as soon as if and when it's supported in Gnomeweb, it should be supported on Elementary OS soon thereafter. Somebody's asking, what's the actual purpose of the project selector in code when I can always see all the open projects in the sidebar? Yeah, it's we're working towards. I don't need this terminal workspace open. It's something we're working towards making code more project based. So right now it just shows you different Git projects that it's aware of, I believe. Right, it's also a way to quickly filter to a certain project and switch to a project. But there will be more to come that will make it more obvious there. Yeah, right now it's like, okay, you can see your open projects on the sidebar over there. One thing is, I guess we hide that when we hide the sidebar. Yeah, there'll be more there, and Danielle actually might be able to answer more. Which keyboard shortcuts like Git and search effect, but it's part of a larger plan. Yeah, there we go. Oh, Childish Giant is asking cats, which is Calmer Alt Tab switcher. Calmer Alt Tab. There's another letter in there. It's a new. There's a new design that's been proposed for alt tabbing. So let me go to a workspace or pull this over to a workspace. Oops, why is that shortcut not working? Oh, because I'm hitting the wrong key. Okay, that would. Or no, my super key isn't working. What's going on with that? That's strange. My super. Oh. Something's not working with my super key. All right. So Alt Tab. This is the current design using the dock as an Alt Tab switcher. There's a new design proposed. I didn't get it installed on this machine since last night, but I really like it. I've gotten to the point where I really like the new design for the Alt Tab switcher, and this version, the current version, kind of drives me nuts now that I've gotten used to the other one. So I don't know if it'll make it quite in time for the next point release, but it's really close. We were trying to get the visual style of it refined a little bit. Like right now it does have a shadow on it, so that's what's holding it back, but it's really close. So I think we will see that soon. Let's see. All right, So I'm going to jump back on. I've been reading all the chat stuff. Oh, Danielle says, she bumped Gala for this month since there's like 6 things that need more testing, and we're wondering if the Mutter patch will fix some of the issues we're having. Oh yeah, so that's in the proposal I have for adding shadows to the alt tab switcher. There was some weird corruption with the shadows, and that might be fixed by that Mutter patch. So it's kind of all interconnected. Yeah. So back looking at the latest releases. So a big focus of this past month has been Flatpak and portals specifically. So portals is a technology that, if you're used to Android development or how Android works, it's kind of like intents on Android in a way, and permissions on Android. But it's a Flatpak and free desktop technology that can be used by things like GTK, KDE, Elementary OS is using it. So it's when you want to open a file, you get the open file portal. So it's what means like an app, when you want to open a file in an app, in a Flatpak, that app doesn't need to have access to your whole file system, because then it could do whatever it wants with all your files, which is not very secure or private. So it asks the portal to give it a file, and then the portal comes up, and that's determined by the operating system. And the portal says, okay, here's the file picker, pick a file, and then we'll send it back to the app, and then the app gets access to just that file and doesn't get access to your whole file system. It's the same thing with things like camera access or location access. There's portals for all of these permissions things, so that apps can be sandboxed tightly and not have access to your whole system and all the devices, but can still do what you expect modern apps to be able to do. So we've been working on shipping our own portals this month. So I'm not sure, Danielle can probably answer specifically what portals are supported. Actually, here we go. So there's an open URI portal, which opens, if you try to open like a path to something, whether it's a website or something else, that portal will handle that. And I believe we're also handling the, oh, this styling did not come through very well. I believe we're also handling like an app chooser. So if your app is like, hey, I want to open a PDF, it can ask the system, hey, open this in whatever makes sense. And then the system, if there's more than one app that can handle PDF, can ask the user, hey, what app do you want to use to open it? And then after you do that a few times, it remembers it and stuff. So portals are cool. It's nice to have an elementary design to those portals. And that's been a big focus of the past month. There's also been a lot of progress on mail again. We're seeing lots of great features and fixes added here. Excuse me. So yeah, there's accent color for unread message titles, auto selecting the next message when you archive a message, so it gets easier to like kind of crank through your email, which I love. That's how I use my email inbox basically. Is I use it more to manage than to like read and write. So I love, archive, move things, whatever, get them out of there, delete them. And there's some fixes for sent messages and drafts and things as well. Camera, there was, I believe, just a small update. Yeah, so to take full resolution pictures. So the preview, we're having some weird issues with the preview on some devices, would be like super laggy. That wasn't a great experience. So now we still preview at a lower resolution, so it's higher frame rate. But then when you snap a picture, it actually switches to the highest supported resolution, takes the picture, and saves that. So you'll notice nicer pictures coming out of the camera app. Applications menu. So I know when you search, so we have a secondary click when you click on an app here, but now when you search for an app, there is a secondary click on the search result too, kind of like you'd expect, but because this works differently, it had to be added separately. So that's nice. So you can jump, search for an app and then jump right to App Center or uninstall it or add it to your dock, remove it from your dock, do the app actions right from the search results, which is nice. What else do we have here? Oh, and that also, I believe this was last month, possibly. Oh, it was technically last month that shipped. Okay, well, I need to look at these dates better. October, so this one was just released. So there's, fix navigating photos in the Photos app with the left and right arrow keys. That should work more reliably now. And fix a couple crashes, move some things around. A big thing, another big thing for this month. I'm missing all of the backlog of the chat because I'm just going on a rant. Another big thing this month has been ARM support. So along with the Flatpak work has been enabling ARM builds. So that's why today I am running this on a Pinebook Pro. Everything that you've been seeing is on the Pinebook Pro. And all the Flatpak apps are now available. There's still some issues to get sorted out with like making sure they're installed in the image, which is why these images are still considered experimental daily builds on early access. But yeah, it's getting really close. It's a really nice experience now on ARM machines. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, that's another. Let's see. I'm trying to think of all the apps that are being built for ARM. So web is now being built on ARM. Videos is now being built on ARM. I believe tasks, is built natively anyway. Calculator, screenshot, camera, mail, I believe is installed natively still. I believe the document viewer is now a Flatpak as well. So all these apps, document viewers are an interesting one. PDFs are another one of those formats that are kind of notoriously dangerous, I guess I'd say. So it's good to have that sandbox from the rest of your system as well. And also it's been nice, I don't think I have any PDFs on this install, but as we build these Flatpaks out, especially like, the document viewer is an upstream GNOME app, but we are building it on our infrastructure. So while we do that, we of course add in dark style support. And then again, once this is supported upstream in GNOME natively, we won't have to patch that sort of stuff anymore. So we'll see all those GNOME apps just work out of the box with dark style. All right, I feel like this is really boring going through a list of releases, so I'm really sorry about that. Let's see. So Sam Wedgwood says, will Ideogram be updated to Elementary OS 6? Yeah, so that's an app that I build. It lets you, so you can insert emoji in, the easiest place to show this, in any text field with control dot, and that has the native emoji picker. But Ideogram is an app I make that lets you insert it into like non-native apps that aren't using GTK, like Electron apps or Firefox or whatever. Yeah, I probably could work on it. I know that there's a couple contributors who have been helping with that. But yeah, the big thing is it's kind of awkward to set a global shortcut. So I actually opened up an issue upstream on, I believe on the Flatpak, like desktop portals. And that's kind of a discussion that we've started there is there a place for a portal to say, for an app to say, hey, I would like a global shortcut that the user selects. Because it has to be cross-desktop, you can't really expect it to be like, hey, I want Super E to be my shortcut, because that might be a system-wide shortcut. But there could be a way for an app to say, I want a global shortcut, please prompt the user to set one. And I think that would be really interesting. I think that would be a nice way of bridging the security and sandboxing of Flatpak, but really leaning into those more powerful features we expect on desktop operating systems, like global shortcuts. So yeah, that's a discussion that started. I don't think there's any code been written. I believe the last comment that was on the issue that said, hey, we would love a pull request for this. So yeah, that would be really cool. I would really like that. So I might wait until something like that happens. Otherwise, it's going to be really awkward to tell users how to go manually configure a global shortcut. I see a couple people talking about App Center apps. That was another thing I forgot to mention. So yeah, our build system for App Center apps now supports ARM natively, and ignore these daily apps showing here because I'm on the daily version. But yeah, so any new app published in the last 2 weeks, week or two, I'm not sure exactly how long it's been, but any new app published recently or going forward on App Center, or updates to existing apps on App Center, will be built for ARM. So you can see these third-party apps are built for ARM, and they work. And I don't know why that bug with missing icons is there. That's strange, and I only see it every once in a while. But yeah, you can go grab App Center apps on ARM today, and they work, which is pretty cool. So You're seeing this fill out pretty quickly here with any new or updated apps. So yeah, go poke at these. These run on ARM. And that's kind of the nice thing about, and an important reason that we build apps from source on the elementary infrastructure. So, you know, you could theoretically submit a binary app that's wrapped in a Flatpak or something, but a huge reason that we focus on native apps building from source on our own infrastructure is that we can make guarantees like, hey, here's a new architecture and it's supported natively. You know, that's something on FlatHub when you have apps like Bitwarden that's submitted, going back to an example from earlier, you know, it's pulling down a Debian package that was built for Intel 64-bit or whatever, and then it's like repackaging it as a Flatpak. And there's a lot of apps like that on FlatHub. And that's cool, and that's a great way to get those apps distributed to more people. But it kind of shows the limitation of that model, where you're not actually having the developer submit the app and building it from source. So yeah, that's kind of a little rant there about native apps, but that's really important to the elementary model and the App Center model. Somebody's asking about global shortcuts. Yeah, so for a global shortcut, it just means a shortcut that can be, I guess, intercepted from any time, like when the app isn't running even. So different desktop environments have different ways of handling that. So like you might have, in elementary OS, actually I'll show that. In elementary OS you have, under your system settings, under keyboard, I'm constantly impressed with how well this runs on the Pinebook, by the way. Even like things like the multi-touch gestures here, like to go back, like, oh, so good. All right, you have keyboard shortcuts and you have custom shortcuts. So you can add your own shortcut here. So I could say, notify send foo, and I could set a keyboard shortcut for super Z. Oops, my super key is not working for some reason. I don't know what is up with that. I could set a keyboard shortcut for control. I don't know. What's something that's not, that I never use? Control P. I never use that. So if I hit Control P, then I get a notification, and you can't see it because of the chat there. But you know, no app has to be running. This can be closed, and then I hit Control B, and it sends the notification that I set up. So that's considered a global shortcut, a shortcut that's listened to by the operating system at all times. So an example would be if an app wants to launch on a global shortcut, like my Ideogram app or anything else. You know, if I wanted to set up Super E for emoji, it's not, you don't really want you have to ask the user, and you have to like ask the operating system to make sure there's not conflicts, and it's really complicated, especially if you start doing cross-desktop stuff in a Flatpak. So the way I think that would work would be, it wouldn't ask for a specific shortcut, but it would ask for the user to choose a shortcut or something, and then the operating system would handle the actual logistics of how to set that shortcut. In the elementary case, it would just add it to this page, basically, and then it would add, you know, the name of the app or whatever here and launch the app. But yeah, I'm going to delete that before I forget that I have it, because that would be annoying if I do go to try to print something on my Pinebook Pro. Yeah, that's global, what I mean by global shortcuts, if that makes sense. Somebody's asking if elementary OS will include a more simple FlatHub integration. I think we've talked about this a lot, so I don't think I have a whole lot more to talk about here, but in case you missed it, something we did add recently is if you search for, what's an example of an app that I don't have? If you do search for an app that you don't have, like GIMP, that's not included in the elementary repositories. We do, on the search results here now, also have copy that's like, hey, no apps are found. By the way, you can also sideload apps from FlatHub, or from third-party places like FlatHub, and we link right to FlatHub there. So it's pretty easy to go and get your first FlatHub app, while also being pretty clear that this is a separate thing. Like, it's not, you know, you're outside the store at this point, and then you can go and install GIMP, and it downloads the Flatpak reference file, and you click it. Oh, and you can't see that on there, but yeah. You click install, you open the file, and it has you install it. It's pretty straightforward, but it still allows us to be a little more honest about the expectations. without just having all these apps just magically show up in App Center and seem like they're more supported than they actually are. So it gives us a chance to inform a little bit more. But you can just go and install it. And because GIMP on FlatHub is built from source for ARM, it also works here on the Pinebook Pro. So that's pretty cool. I hope I'm not like tanking my stream by downloading 74 megabytes on this, but yeah, that's the gist of that, if that makes sense. Somebody's asking about updates on Houston. So Houston is the kind of what I would call the legacy backend for App Center. There's a new App Center dashboard being worked on that replaces Houston. The actual building process is done on GitHub Actions through the CI that we have there, but then the dashboard is, there's a user interface that's App Center dashboard. github.com/elementary/App Center dashboard. And I believe there is a URL to the beta version of this somewhere. Yeah. And it's currently down because it's in development. So that's embarrassing. But yeah, so this is the replacement for Houston. If you're interested in contributing to that, especially if you know Elixir and like to contribute to web projects, this would be great. This is like somebody had mentioned, that it is kind of a pain point right now, that it's a double-edged sword. We're doing the App Center review process right now completely on GitHub through pull requests, which is really cool, and it's really transparent. It's really clear to see what's in the queue, and we're going to keep doing that. So that pull request queue is still going to be where you go and see apps in review. So it's App Center reviews. If you're not an App Center developer, sorry that this might be a little, but yeah, so this is where we currently do reviews, and this is where we'll keep doing reviews. So you can see the apps that are currently in review, and you can see their CI status here. And this is really important for transparency for us. But it would be easier for you to, go and submit your app through a web dashboard instead of having to create a pull request. So we understand that, and that's definitely something we aim to complete. So hopefully that makes sense. Somebody's saying, is it possible to use FlatHub but not to have it showing on the store? No, because of the way Flatpak remotes work. So when you install, when you install an app from Flatpak, it adds the remote because that's where the app comes from, and that's where the app's updates are going to come from. So it has to add the remote. You could maybe try to filter that remote to what's required, but then that gets weird as soon as you try to install a second app, and that gets really hairy. So it really makes more sense to say, hey, yeah, when you install an app from a remote, that remote gets added. That's just kind of how it works. So yeah, like David said in the chat, maybe we could add an option to like hide remotes or something in App Center too, but that's not currently planned and not currently in the works. Wes Payne, hi Wes, how's it going? Yeah, Wes Payne says Elixir, neat. Yeah, so if you're on the hippest new web, it's not that new, but the hippest web technologies, we have some projects written in Elixir, and which is really cool. It's really performant and really a cool language from what I understand. The problem is not very many of the elementary contributors know Elixir. So we are always looking for web development help there. Somebody's asking, is there a future for interoperability between calendar task and the calendar view in Wing Panel in the datetime view? So yes, events can be viewed there. Again, I just set this up last night, so I don't have my calendars and stuff added. But yeah, events do show up here to the right of the calendar. And then I believe there's a pull request right now for tasks to also show up there. Tasks that have a date associated with them. I'm not sure if that's been merged, but I know that has been at least proposed. So yeah, it's really nice to get this like nice little mini view and overview of things today and upcoming stuff. So yeah, that is a thing that's there. I'm just like, I swear I'm not paid to say any of this, but like, I'm constantly impressed with this Pinebook Pro and how performant it is. So one of the things is, while I'm on the topic of ARM, I tried initially, so this is a Raspberry Pi 4 it's called a Flirk case. I don't really know why it's called that. Something with infrared receivers, what it was originally intended for. It's a really cool passive cooling case. It's aluminum. This is like if I built a desktop computer, this is about what I would want it to look like. It's aluminum and like a matte black, which is really nice. Anyway, it's a Raspberry Pi 4. I was initially doing all my ARM stuff and was going to demo on here, but I was having an issue with the storage and with probably my SD card itself being really slow. So everything you were doing was just really slow on it. Like if you weren't loading from the disk, things performed pretty well. And another thing is I was on my 1440p monitor instead of like a 1080 or lower monitor, whereas the Pinebook Pro has a 1080p screen. But we do have builds for Raspberry Pi at builds.elementary.io. If you are interested in playing with it on a Raspberry Pi, I highly recommend using maybe some fast USB storage, or I think there's a way to do like an NVMe driver, PCI driver, something. I'm not sure. But yeah, I definitely recommend taking a look at that. If you have a Pinebook Pro, highly recommend. Elementary OS runs so well on the Pinebook Pro. I'm constantly impressed, especially with multi-touch gestures, switching workspaces, and then gestures inside of apps like Web here to go back. It punches way above its weight as like a $200 computer. So, and also if you have a Raspberry Pi 400 as well, then it's a whole computer inside of the little keyboard, and the builds will run on there as well. So if you check out the daily builds, there's up at the top, it's 64-bit AMD Intel builds, and then down below we have Pinebook Pro and Raspberry Pi 4. So you can grab the latest there. There's also historical builds down below if the latest build isn't working for you, because these are daily builds, so things break sometimes. So you might have to go grab, yesterday's build or something, the latest one that works. So yeah, wow, there's a whole bunch of chat that just went by and I did not read. So again, if David or Danielle could help out in that chat there, if there was anything cool that I missed. Colin is asking what repos exactly use Elixir. That's a good one. So I know the App Center, let's go forward here. Or backwards. App Center dashboard. Yeah, the App Center dashboard repo uses Elixir. Where does GitHub? GitHub used to show, oh, okay, it's down here now. It used to be up at the top, it's now down here. You can't see with the chat there, so let's get rid of that. So yeah, here's Elixir. I wonder if you click Elixir, will it show elementary repos that use Elixir? Code results in. Can you search elementary? I'm testing GitHub's features live. Nope. Okay, you can't quite do that. Oh, but they show on the overview. They show languages that are used. Oh, on language. Here we go. I knew there was a way to do it somewhere. Ah. Okay, yeah. So the App Center dashboard that we showed there, and then the store. So the actual back end of the store here is an Elixir app. So it talks to Printful, which is our merch partner, and it where'd my camera go? I apparently hid that. It talks to Printful, which is our merch partner, and then it pulls these products and everything, and then it talks to Stripe to do the actual orders. So it's pretty cool, little lightweight Elixir app. There we go. And then payments, which is something that's kind of backburnered, not exactly being developed actively, but it's the idea of being able to pull up payments into a separate web app that then could be used by the Flatpak authenticator. So payments wouldn't be handled on the client side in App Center, but it would be handled server side by this app. And then accounts is something similar. Same idea, is more of an experimental thing. It hasn't been really worked on much, but is if you were able to log into an elementary account to re-download the apps that you've purchased and things like that. So the main two ones in production are the App Center dashboard and the store. If you are interested in Elixir, that would be that'd be a great place to contribute. That'd be a really, really powerful way to really make a difference for elementary OS. So, and no matter what you're skilled in, if you go to elementary.io/get-involved, that's a great place to kind of see where we can use help, whether it's just funding or translations. If you speak more than one language, that's always a huge help. There's a huge translations community, but we can always use more people helping suggest translations for our software to make sure that we're localized. You can help support. If you just are a big fan of elementary OS or just really smart, just know how elementary OS works, go check out these questions on the question and answer sites, and or contribute to documentation. You can go to these docs, and then you can actually this is outdated. I need to update that. Yeah, all of our, oh no, that one's not. But you can go here on GitHub and actually contribute directly to our docs that people see that helps them use elementary OS. So if there's something that you think could be better stated on our website and our documentation, you can do that. That's a great way to help as well. And then web development, like I said, there's Elixir. There's also our main websites using HTML, PHP, CSS, JavaScript, and there's lots of different web projects on our GitHub repo, or on a GitHub organization. And then desktop development. If you are a desktop developer, if you know C or Vala or Python or any other modern language, you can follow this Getting Started guide and kind of learn how we write apps in Vala, and then contribute to elementary apps there. And you can browse all of our code here on GitHub and see, it's pretty easy to it's much harder to start an app from scratch in a new language. But if you are going and there's a pretty simple issue and you kind of know generally how programming languages work, it's actually pretty easy to pick up Vala. That's how I started learning Vala. It was just contributing to stuff that already existed. So it's not like you have to be an expert in a language before you can contribute. Yeah. And then, of course, reporting issues is always helpful. You can do that on the website. You can also do that from elementary OS itself, from system, send feedback, and this will help you actually report it in the right place. We actually have a video coming out soon that a familiar face has been working on for us to help visualize how to report issues on elementary OS, which is cool. So look forward to that. Or you can just search for feedback from the menu here, and that'll take you to the same place. But yeah, reporting issues is always important. If you're running into something, we don't necessarily know about it unless you report it. So please report, send feedback. If you have feature requests, same thing. We don't really know about it unless you send it to us. So please file it on GitHub or using the feedback tool. And then obviously, if you want to contribute to elementary OS, to the whole ecosystem, you can create an app. So that's where our developer website comes in to play here of getting started, building an app, designing an app, and then distributing it out to users of elementary OS. That's it's mutually beneficial. It helps you whether you're learning something or just solving a problem that you have. Plus, you can make some money. You can monetize it with Stripe, which is really cool. And then plus it also makes the elementary ecosystem better. So it makes elementary OS as a platform more valuable to people. It makes more people want to come to elementary OS because there's all these cool apps. So that's a great way to contribute as well. And then lastly, there's also design. Last but not least, because this is more of my area, you can, if you're a designer, whether UX designer, visual design, just really good at CSS or, pushing pixels in vector art programs or whatever, there's all sorts of needs design issues on GitHub where we're just kind of waiting for feedback. You can also contribute directly to our style sheet and our icons that we use in elementary OS. So lots of different ways to help out. So whether you know Elixir or any of these other things, there's always tons of ways to help. So that would be greatly appreciated if you want to get involved there. So that was quite the tangent, but hopefully that, if you've ever wondered how to get involved with elementary OS, that's pretty much it. That's how. So let's see here. I'm going to go back to the chat here for a minute. Remember, one page showed elementary OS 5.1 for some reason. Don't know if it was fixed. Couldn't find the repo for it. Oh yeah, that technically is the Houston repo, so there might be an issue for that. Yeah. Ryan has a question. Hi, Ryan, by the way. In regards to developing an app, is Elementary OS 6 at a point of adoption that releasing for 5.1 is not recommended? Yeah, pretty much. We always heavily encourage people to get on the newest OS right away, because that's where you get new features, fixes, security updates, and all that more quickly, because that's where we're focusing our development. So, yeah, I'd recommend releasing for Elementary OS 6. You can still technically release for Elementary OS 5.1. I do know that review queue is not being gone through as frequently, just because there's so many apps being reviewed for Elementary OS 6. That's where we're focusing our efforts right now. Another thing to keep in mind is that if you develop for Elementary OS 6, you're also developing for Flatpak, which means users can install your app on Elementary OS 5. So there's actually an open project board there. Let me pull that up. Where is that? If we go to elementary projects, old projects. Let's see here. Somewhere. What is it called? It's probably faster if I just searched. Yeah, I'm just gonna search. Oh, it's right at the top. Oh, geez. Okay. That's embarrassing. All right, right at the top there. Bring Flatpak App Center to OS 5. So there's an open project board here. I don't know that there's actually much tracked on here. There's a few things tracked on here. So that's something we want to focus on. Maybe that'd be a good thing at the beginning of next month to kind of revisit. But you can install Elementary OS 6 apps on Elementary OS 5 and any other desktop that supports Flatpak, like Ubuntu or Fedora or Pop OS or Arch or whatever. So there's some work we could do to make sure things like the style sheet and stuff falls back correctly to, or is set correctly to the Elementary OS 6 style sheet. But yeah, I would recommend focusing on Elementary OS 6 because of that specifically. And if people do go to for non-monetized apps for now, but if people go to elementary or appcenter.elementary.io, we do show Flatpak downloads for apps here too. So whether you're on Elementary OS 5 or again Ubuntu or whatever, if you have a non-monetized app, let's pull up a non-monetized app maybe. Okay, calculator, because I know there's a download as Flatpak button that downloads the Flatpak ref, just like going to FlatHub does, and you can install this app on any operating system that supports Flatpak. So for that reason, I would really focus on Elementary OS 6 and thus Flatpak. It also means you don't have to maintain like the two different kinds of packaging and stuff. You can just focus on the Flatpak packaging and not have to do the Debian stuff and then the different dependencies that you have to do on Elementary OS 5 versus Flatpak. And yeah, like if you have an existing app and you want to do a big update, you technically you can ship that to Elementary OS 5. But it might be worth talking to users and say, hey, let's migrate you over to the Flatpak, and then you'll get updates no matter what your OS is. So yeah, good question, Ryan. Thanks. That was actually a really good one. Somebody's asking about upcoming events, and Danielle's saying feature requests to GitHub. Yeah, I can echo that. Please report feature requests on GitHub or using the feedback app on Elementary OS. Yeah, let me check. So one of the questions Alessandro actually had on Twitter, he messaged me and was asking about GTK4. So this is kind of talking about Flatpak is kind of a good time to talk about that, I think. So what is the plan for GTK4 on Elementary OS? As of right now, I would say, I don't want to say there's no plan, but there's not a super concrete plan. Basically, we like GTK4. We like a lot of the stuff that we're seeing in GTK4. A lot of the new widgets and the hardware acceleration, Vulkan stuff is really awesome. GTK developers have been doing a great job there, and we're really excited about GTK4. Because Elementary OS is built on an Ubuntu base, for our native apps, for our Debian packaged apps from apt, we have to use the dependencies that are available to us there. However, with Flatpak apps, like anything in App Center, and then increasingly more and more of our first-party apps, we can actually use newer dependencies like GTK4 if we want. So there isn't an exact roadmap as of now, but I could see start experimenting. Maybe something as simple as Calculator would be a good place to start experimenting with that, because it's a pretty low complexity. There's not really custom styles. So Alex is telling me that Vulkan is not ready yet. So not Vulkan, but yes, hardware acceleration and all the other awesome stuff that's been going into GTK4. But yeah, I could see us start experimenting maybe with a daily build of a GTK4 app and seeing, where it goes from there. The nice thing about Flatpak is, once we start building things for Elementary OS 7, let's say theoretically we make GTK4 a target for Elementary OS 7. Those app updates that are going to be coming out to OS 7 are going to be coming out through Flatpak to OS 6 as well. So you will be getting the newest, latest, greatest apps as Flatpaks on Elementary OS 6 too. So that's kind of the answer there, I guess, if that makes sense. There's not a concrete roadmap, but it's definitely something we are excited about and thinking about. Another part of that question was libhandy, libadwaita, and Granite related stuff. And actually, Nick from the Linux Experiment has his most recent video, I believe, dives into this topic, and I actually answered some questions for him for his video. So I jump into that. Actually, I answer the Granite and libadwaita thing there. But the gist of it is Granite and libadwaita are going to coexist just fine, just like libhandy and Granite coexist today. So there's apps like, what's a good example? The System Settings app uses both Granite and libhandy today. So it uses libhandy for these nice stack switcher, or the handy view switcher, whatever that's called. Somebody's going to correct me in the chat, I'm sure. But yeah, so it uses handy here, and then it uses Granite for things. I'm sure there's Granite things in here. Like this time picker is probably Granite, and these color buttons I think are Granite. So they coexist. They're just two different libraries that provide different things, so they don't really conflict. And that's going to be the same way with libadwaita. So yeah. And David is pointing out in the chat too that we might have some 2204 based daily builds soon. So building on the newest Ubuntu early alpha builds, and where we would have GTK4 available. And so, OS 7, theoretically, native apps, Debian apps could be built with GTK4 there. And then also, yeah, Danielle is saying that we could have an unstable OS 7 runtime, Flatpak runtime, that would be, that would make GTK4 available. Deck. Yes, this is a deck. Alex is correcting, or telling me in the chat. This is a handy deck, which makes sense. It's like a deck of cards. You're sliding through the cards. I just was brain farting. I was like, it's a stack, but it's not a stack. It's a deck. It's a good name. I just forgot. So yeah, that's hopefully that answers Alessandro's question. I'm not sure if he's there in the chat or if he'll be watching this later, but yeah, that should answer that. Somebody else was asking me about my OBS setup, which is not really directly Elementary OS, although it is powered by Elementary OS completely on currently 2 different machines. But yeah, I always have at least 2 machines for my setup here. So kind of show that behind the scenes camera again. I don't have a better angle exactly, but this is the Pinebook Pro here. And then I am using an e-ink tablet over here for notes. So I'm currently covering the OBS setup. So I'm going to, go across that one off my notes. And then I've got my microphone. Let's see if I can do this live. This is a terrible idea, probably. Got my microphone here. It's an SM58, and then HDMI going out to another computer over here, which is running OBS on Elementary OS. It's actually a Slimbook. Here, let me do this. Why not? If I'm giving you a tour, I'll give you a tour. All right, let's get this. This is actually, oh, it's gonna be upside down. Oh no, there we go. This camera is actually running on a little tiny Palm Android phone. It's running running DroidCam OBS. So then it's going over the network to the Slimbook here, which is running OBS. So you can see all my controls there. And then I actually have an external, it has an HDMI capture card. So HDMI mirroring from this machine into OBS. And then it has an external output to this big monitor, which is where I can quickly switch views, which is handy. So you can see what I'm doing now with this camera here. But yeah, I can just click on the view that I want to show, and I can see all the different views that are available to me, which is a little overwhelming. I probably went overboard this week. But yeah, and then I have a Logitech webcam up there, which is connected to the OBS machine. And I have, here's my SM58 with a little pop filter. And what else? Oh, there's a Behringer XLR to USB interface back there with some gain controls, and that's where my headphones are going to preview audio. On this machine, I'm also running like the YouTube stuff in the browser. So yeah, that's my OBS setup. Oh, and I also have a little light. It's a wireless battery powered light there. It's an RGB light, but I'm using it for the just bright light to fill in my face a little bit so you don't have just total darkness on that side of my face. So hopefully that made some sense. I'll put this camera back carefully here without destroying anything. Yeah, I love that. Actually, that the DroidCam OBS plugin is really sweet, actually. Works really well for things like, yeah, I wouldn't use it for my primary camera necessarily, but for things like this overhead view, really, really nice. Oh, and I'm using just a off-the-shelf tripod with a phone mount on it for that camera too. So yeah, that's my OBS setup, whoever was asking that on Twitter. Yeah, now you know. Maybe I'll do a separate video sometime where I can give a better, less janky overview of that, but that's what that is. Kelly is asking, what's the next big step in the Wayland world? I don't know how to answer that. I don't know what the next big step in the Wayland world is, but I know our biggest blocker for Wayland is desktop shell related, dock related. So that's actually something I've been working on. I'm going to be doing a user interface study and kind of user research study, I guess, about how people use their desktop and dock and things. So I'm noticing my head is being smashed with these headphones. Because yeah, it seems like we're going to have to be rewriting the dock in some way. We're currently using Plank, which is great, but it's very focused on X server. So as long as we're like putting in the effort to rewrite a dock, it doesn't really make sense just to like rewrite what we already had. We might as well use that as an opportunity to think a little bit harder about the design and the role and the purpose of a dock and how it works with multitasking and window management and things like that. So that's the next big thing in the elementary world as far as Wayland, if that makes sense. Somebody's asking me any thoughts on Pop Pipewire. I don't know enough about it. Besides everything I hear is it's awesome and great and wonderful, and we'll get it as soon as Ubuntu has it. That's one of the lower level things that we rely on Ubuntu to do. So yeah, everything I hear is great, but I don't have enough knowledge or experience with it to really answer that. Somebody's asking, going more off topic, that's fine. We're at the post show at this point anyway. It's past the hour mark here, so thanks for sticking with us, by the way. Somebody's asking about the e-ink. Michael's asking about the e-ink's display. Yes, so this is a Books Nova 3, I believe is the model of the tablet. So I have it upside down because I have there's an IKEA phone mount that works perfectly for it. It would hit the button if it was right side up, so I just set it to be upside down. But this is the pen latency. So for me, it's really good. You know, it's probably not like iPad Pro levels of whatever, but I love e-ink for, I get migraines and stuff. So I love e-ink for things when I don't want to be looking at a screen. It feels more like looking at paper. It does have a backlight that you can turn on, which is nice if you are reading in the dark or whatever, and that's adjustable with white or warm and cold color temperature and stuff. And one actually really interesting thing about this is running Android. I think it's Android 10 right now, which is like the most up-to-date Android e-ink thing you can get, which to me was really important to be able to read books from more than just like whatever source is pre-included. So whether it's Google Play Books or Kindle or Nook or open source formats and things, this handles all of it. And plus it's also my sketching. I use it for user interface sketching and stuff. And because it's running Android, you can do things like quick share to an Android phone, which is really nice as well. So I really, really, really like this. I don't use it quite as much as I should, but I really love it for notes. And then it's nice to not have another screen blaring at me over here on the side. So it just feels more like a piece of paper, but I don't have to waste paper. Yeah. So David's talking about Wayland, how a doc would communicate. Yeah. So like for the Wayland stuff, we'd have to, before we just like re-implement the doc and write all these like inter-process APIs and T-bus interfaces and stuff, like we kind of have to, we want to think through what we actually will need and how the doc should work, so we don't over commit to doing something that we don't need to do. Yeah. Let's see. Somebody's asking if we'll have David Hewitt in a live stream sometime. That would be cool. David, let us know if you want to do that. That'd be cool. We should do that. Somebody else on Twitter asked this too. Will Elementary OS mobile be a thing? No. No, or at least not anytime soon. So we're really focused on the desktop experience. That's where we're passionate and what we're excited about doing. And also like mobile OS, there's like mobile OS kind of implies mobile hardware, and there's just like so low margins there. And I think what we're currently focused on, and I know Danielle and I have both answered this actually in previous streams, so go back and watch our other streams. But a really summarized version is we're focused more on, you know, interoperability with existing operating systems, whether that's Android or like these new Linux-based mobile OSs, KDE Plasma and Fosh. I don't know what the actual like whole experience would be called with the shell. You know, by sticking to like free desktop standards and working with those projects, we could be more interoperable with them. But I don't think it makes sense for us to split our focus on desktop and mobile, because there's so many more considerations that we'd have to make there. So yeah. All right, I plugged merch, I plugged devices, plugged Get Involved. Oh, and a huge thank you to our sponsors. I know we're going way over time here, so I'll try to wrap up here. Huge thanks to our sponsors over on GitHub. If you actually go to github.com/elementary, you can sponsor us yourself, or you can see our existing sponsors over here. There's a sponsor button. You can click that. And sponsors is like, if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of like a Patreon or crowdfunding sort of a deal, but built into GitHub itself, which is really cool. And they also are really good about their fee structure is that they don't take any fees, at least from you when you contribute to a project. If we as a company were to contribute, like sponsor another project, then there's a fee structure there. But they're really good about for individuals sponsoring projects that they don't take fees. And we have a few tiers here. So we have $2 a month, which is just a thank you. You also get like about a monthly email from us through GitHub. So that's, you know, here's the latest blog post. Here's maybe a little bit more behind the scenes information. $10 a month is our early access tier. So that's where you saw our builds website. So that's things like experimental builds, daily builds of elementary OS on 64-bit Intel, AMD, or builds for things like the Pinebook Pro that I'm using, or the Raspberry Pi, that $10 tier gives you access to that. $20 a month gives you, there's a badge that you get for that, and also early access. It's pretty much just a higher, fancier tier of the same thing. And then this $50 a month is really cool. Each month you can comment on an issue of your choice. Cassidy, me, or Danielle will take a look up to an hour investigating and kind of sharing our findings. So that's a good way if you really are like, hey, this specific issue is passionate to me. That's a way you can directly sponsor our actual work just by commenting on an issue. So that's a really cool tier. But yeah, we have 490 sponsors, which is incredible. So thank you to all of those sponsors. Hop over to github.com/sponsors/elementary if you want to join them as well and help sponsor what we do here. And as always, be sure to tune in next month to our stream. I believe Danielle will be streaming next month again, so be sure to catch her. I don't know if the topic has been decided yet or not. Also, yeah, thank you to somebody who super chatted. Is that how that works? I'm not familiar with the I'm not super up to date with the GitHub stuff. Somebody said, welcome to sponsor. Thank you. Omer, we really should not try to pronounce names on stream. But yeah, thank you so much. That was, that's another thing you can do now. We've enabled super chats and stickers on the YouTube channel. So I should have said that at the beginning of the stream. That would have made way more sense to tell you that all. And those super chats get my attention because they're big, bright, bold. Thank you. And hi to Arat from Russia. And somebody's talking about Purism Pure OS with Fosh Shell. Yeah. So there's a few different OSs that ship Fosh Shell on mobile. But yeah, that's whether it's Pure OS or Post-Market OS or whatever. But working with like GNOME on mobile with Fosh was what I was referring to. Yeah. So thanks everybody. Thanks for becoming a channel member, and thanks for hanging out for this hour and like 15-minute stream. And I'll catch you next time. See you all later.